Thank you, Joe, so much for having me. My name is Ruth Fote, and I am a retirement mortgage specialist, but also I'm a very loyal and extremely grateful client of Joe's. And I want to take just a moment and explain both to you. First off, I'm going to be very transparent and tell you that we were late to the retirement party. It seemed that the decades just flew by, and Jim and I, well, we worked hard, but we played hard, and we didn't really focus on our retirement plan. Then all of a sudden, I hit 60 and panicked hard. The reality kicked in. I realized we had high interest rate debt. The market was very unstable, and there wasn't a lot of time left for us to make up any losses because we were nearing that retirement age rapidly. My daughter had heard Joe on a talk show, morning talk show program, thought he had some great ideas, ordered his books, and suggested we reach out to him. What a great recommendation that was. Joe really steadied our nerves. He had some tools that gave us foundation to get our retirement plan in place rapidly. The first one we used was his Become the Banker program, where it allowed us to actually wipe out a lot of our high interest credit cards. He also talked with us about annuities, the benefits, the safety, the long-term care benefit. So we went ahead and moved 401k money over into some annuities. And just a side note, I want to mention, when we reached out to a previous employer, all of a sudden they couldn't find my money. I panicked, but long story short, they did eventually find it, and I felt so much relief just knowing that Joe was going to keep track of my funds and I didn't have to worry about a clerical error that it would just be gone. So we were skipping along thinking we were handling things well, and then we got the wake-up call. In a period of 5 days, Jim was diagnosed with 2 kinds of cancer. In the back of my mind, I always expected that to happen. His family history didn't look very favorable. Plus, there are statistics that show that 80% of women will outlive their spouses. That means we have to plan better. We have to have more savings, more assets that will go long after our husband has passed. So we started making some changes. First thing we did was we moved to our forever home. We moved to a property that was more manageable for me, was closer to the hospital for him, and we were closer to our kids. You know, moving to be closer to your kids is the #1 reason for retirees to move, and it was certainly at that point that I really needed their help. We started thinking long-term end of life instead of just day to day. Well, Jim always did have a concern that I had to have a roof over my head no matter what. And he went ahead and he had gotten, one of the things he did do in our earlier years, thank goodness, was to take out a life insurance policy that would pay off the mortgage balance so that I wouldn't have the principal and interest payment looming over my head. But I soon realized that there could be a gap of time between when he was bringing in money, like even if it was just Social Security money, when that check was coming in, to the point of having an insurance benefit. So we again pulled back out the idea of a retirement mortgage, looked into that in order to eliminate the mandatory principal and interest payment. Now I'm going to get back and talk a little bit about mandatory here in a moment, but know that it wasn't an easy road for us. We didn't fit the guidelines initially. Our loan balance was too high. We had to sell some assets to pay it down. Then we had to watch rates and home values and seize the opportunity to finally snag our reverse mortgage. Made a huge difference when we were able to get that reverse mortgage, eliminating that mandatory principal and interest payment, you know, the no pay, no stay payment that they have in traditional mortgages. Not having to make that monthly payment really gave our budget a relief and could allow us to breathe. Plus, we didn't have to worry as much about having to tap into annuities. We could continue to let them grow. But I did say that the principal and interest payment wasn't mandatory. It is an optional payment, and I found that I could manage to pay down some principal balance, and by paying down the principal balance of the loan, it freed up automatically my line of credit. The line of credit, I could use it, I could pay it back and use it again or not pay it back. It was completely up to me how I wanted to handle it. What that allowed me to have was flexibility without the fear, and my annuities were continuing to grow. Well, Jim lived about 3 more years after being diagnosed, which meant, yes, there were medical expenses and such, but we managed through those, prepared. And remember that life insurance policy that I had said that Jim got to pay off the mortgage balance? Well, the great thing was that the reverse mortgage had already eliminated that mandatory principal and interest payment that I had mentioned. It again was optional, but there was no mandatory payment, and that was the purpose of Jim taking out that life insurance policy. So what I was able to do with that money is roll it into, you guessed it, another annuity with Joe. That gave me, between the annuities that I had invested with Joe, as well as the money I had in my reverse line of credit, I could suddenly stop worrying about running out of money, and I could start focusing on making memories. My idea shifted. Instead of leaving a legacy, I wanted to live a legacy. I traveled with my siblings, I traveled with kids, grandkids. I started saying yes to experiences that before I would have said no to. And when the roof needed repaired on the house, I didn't have to worry about budgeting out of my monthly. I just took it out of my line of credit, kind of as if the line of credit on my house let the house pay for the house. Huge change in my lifestyle. So why does this plan work? What we have to understand is it's not a standalone solution. The reverse mortgage is not a standalone solution. It's part of the plan. Joe helped me build an income generating vehicle that gave me money month after month to cover those budgeted expenses. But the reverse mortgages added flexibility. Together, they allowed me to turn my fear into confidence and peace of mind, to go on and continue my life without Jim. So as an overview at a glance, let's look at how a reverse mortgage and an annuity work together, and in much the same way. For one thing, on a reverse mortgage, no principal and interest payment is required, is mandatory for life as long as I live in the home. With the fixed annuity from Joe, I'll get an income stream for life. I don't have to worry about where the next monthly bills are going to get paid from. There's a long-term care protection on both. I can stay in my home as long as I am. As long as it's my primary residence. With the annuity, if I do have to have long-term care needs, the annuity income from Joe will double, so that I can afford to have somebody come into the home and help me with any day-to-day care that I might need. It gives me peace of mind. It's a non-recourse loan, so I can never get so much out of the allowed line of credit that it would turn me upside down. If the real estate market fell and I did end up owing more than the home was worth, it's non-recourse. I don't have to pay it back. In that case, either myself or my kids can just give the keys back to the lender. With an annuity, payment continues regardless of what's in the balance. And at the end, if and when there is remaining equity or a remaining annuity balance left over in either the reverse mortgage or the annuity, it gets transferred to whomever you have designated in your will or your trust. Now, I did give you a handout that kind of gives you a brief overview of who, what, and how, who qualifies, what the responsibilities are of a retirement mortgage, and how you can use a retirement mortgage. We can pretty much structure whatever might work for your needs. You may need to pay off a mortgage. You may have your home free and clear. It might be that your home right now isn't your forever home, and we need to look at finding you a home that might better fit your needs. It's just a matter of structuring a plan that meets what your needs are. But I know we've covered a lot of information. There's only one thing you have to remember from this, and that is how to get in touch with me. I've provided you a sheet of paper that if you'd like me to give you a call, just kind of jot down some things you'd like to have covered, and I'll set up an appointment and let's visit, let's talk. Thank you so much.